So sleep never came up in my rheumatology training, and I had to learn the hard way to make it one of my initial questions when meeting a new patient. You see, I had a fibromyalgia patient once when I was first starting out who had tried and failed everything. And then one visit, I'm embarrassed to admit, it was after working together for a while, we started talking about her sleep, or really her lack of sleep. That's why none of the medications had worked. We weren't focusing on the right problem. We completely shifted gears, and I never let an initial visit with a patient end without bringing up sleep again. When we have fibromyalgia or really any autoimmune condition, sleep cannot be ignored. We're going to review why sleep is so important and then give you some small actionable steps you can take to get your sleep back on track. Make sure to stay until the end because I always like to include some questions for you and your doctor to think about and discuss to take all this information and apply it to your life. So let's get started. I want to very briefly remind everyone what I'm talking about when I say fibromyalgia. I have a whole other video where we get into this in much more depth, but in case you haven't watched it yet, fibromyalgia is a syndrome characterized by chronic musculoskeletal pain and various other systemic symptoms such as fatigue, brain fog, headaches, and irritable bowel symptoms. There are no blood or radiology tests that can diagnose fibromyalgia. It is solely based on symptoms, which means it can be a real booger bear to nail down. It can happen by itself, but it also happens in conjunction with other autoimmune conditions like RA, lupus, or Sjogren's syndrome, amongst others. We are still learning about why fibromyalgia happens, but the pain of fibro, called nociplastic pain, seems to be related to a dysregulated nervous system that results in a hypersensitization to pain. Again, if you want to know more, check out the video in the description box. We have a few prescription treatments for fibromyalgia that in some individuals can be quite effective, but they leave too many of us still suffering. So we still have a long way to go. Many people don't get enough relief from the approved medications and have side effects that are just unbearable. So how does sleep factor into all of this? Well, it's long been recognized that there is an association between poor sleep quality and fibromyalgia pain and fatigue. Now, the data is actually pointing to a relationship that goes beyond just the casual association and showing that persistent poor sleep may actually cause fibromyalgia. It's an important first step towards paying more attention to our sleep. Similar to smoking leading to lung cancer and a slew of other medical problems, because we know it causes these problems and isn't merely associated with it, it gives us more ammunition to actually do something about it. So why and how could sleep cause fibromyalgia? Well, sleep is intimately related to our neuroimmunoendocrine system, which is just me smushing together the neurologic system, immune system, and endocrine system, because in reality, these systems are constantly interacting with each other. They are dependent and influence each other, and maintaining a balance between all of them is required for good health. These systems and sleep bidirectionally influence each other, meaning poor sleep can disrupt these systems. Then an imbalanced system can lead to poor sleep, and on and on and on we go. We know that poor sleep leads to an increase in pro-inflammatory proteins, susceptibility to infections, and an overall weakened immune system. We also know that poor sleep is related to increased pain, fatigue, and memory issues, not only in those with fibromyalgia, but also those with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and really everyone. How many times have you felt great after a poor night's sleep? Yeah, it's not really a thing. Sleep is the time our body uses to rest and restore. And even beyond that, it's not just any sleep, it's sleep that happens at night. Our body has amazing means to keep our circadian rhythms in line. So we go to bed when the sun goes down and we get up when the sun comes up. When this rhythm gets off, our sleep-wake cycle gets disturbed and the neuroimmunoendocrine system balance that relies on that regular rest starts to go haywire, and that results in a number of different medical conditions. All of this jives with what I've seen in patient after patient. If we don't address your sleep, it almost doesn't matter what medication I give you, what supplement you take, or what program you sign up for. There will be a ceiling to how good you will feel. Okay, Ortiz, we get it. Sleep's important. But what am I supposed to do? Well, first let me say that pharmaceutical sleep medications are not the answer. They have a role in helping us get through some short-term circumstances like travel or jet lag or stressful situations that come up in life, like deaths in the family or divorces or big moves. But sleep medications will not help the body reset its circadian rhythm to then rebalance that neuroendocrine immune system. In order to do that, you've got to be prepared for the marathon, not the sprint, because unfortunately, none of these things are quick fixes and they require you to commit to making some environment and daily habit changes. But you don't have to change everything at once. The fact that you're even here is a great first step. Okay, so your environment. We want to build ourselves a sleep cave. Our bedroom should be cold, dark, and quiet. This means blackout blinds if you can, and even eye masks. We want as little light and as little sound as possible in our bedrooms at night. We also need it cold. The ideal temperature for sleep is between 60 and 67 degrees. As a first step, take a look at your bedroom and see how you can make it more comfortable to get that deep sleep. Do you need a fan? I have a fan pointing right at me, even in the winter, in order to get my temperature just right. Can't afford fancy blackout blinds? Yeah, like me either. But you can put thick curtains or even a blanket over your window. Noises can be tricky. Maybe we have a partner who snores, or we need to keep the baby monitor on. You know, the baby monitor's tough. I'm not going to tell you to ignore your baby. But if noise is related to a partner, consider alternative sleeping arrangements. Next, we have our routine. Your sleep routine needs to be sacrosanct, a non-negotiable. It should carry the same weight as going to your doctor's visits or making sure you have your medication. A good sleep routine happens every night, including weekends. I know I sound like a giant buzzkill, but we are trying to reset your body's circadian rhythm. This won't happen overnight.
Pun intended.
And we need to give ourselves the time it will take. Going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every morning following the sun will start to get all those neurotransmitters, hormones, and immune cells back in balance. Not only is sticking to the same times every night important, but avoiding things that will activate you at least 60 minutes before bedtime is also key. This means no news, TV, or really screens of any kind, even a stressful book. The blue light of our screens tricks our brains into thinking it's daytime, which will have the exact opposite effect of what we're trying to achieve. Also, no alcohol. Okay, now I'm really starting to sound like your mother, but it's true. Many of us will use alcohol to get us to unwind, but the sleep we get after drinking is not quality sleep. As important as these routine changes are, I know they aren't always easy to make. We all have busy lives and schedules, and many of us have to care for more than just ourselves. Making these changes may mean making changes to family routines or adjusting work hours. We all live in the real world, and a little grace and patience with ourselves will go a long way. Lastly, I want to leave you with some questions to think about and bring up with your doctor. Are you a heavy snorer? Have you recently gained weight? Has anyone ever told you it looks like you stopped breathing for half a second in the middle of the night? Do you feel like you could put your head down and just pass out in the middle of the day regardless of what you're doing? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, it's worth bringing up with your doctor and seeing what they think about doing a sleep study. A sleep study is done in a sleep lab, although sometimes it can be done at your house. where they track a bunch of things while you sleep to gauge if you have conditions like sleep apnea. If a sleep disorder is found during the sleep study, then there are usually some specific recommendations that a sleep specialist can make for you, whether it be the use of a CPAP machine or a specific medication. Do you feel like you've tried every medication out there for fibro and still haven't gotten any relief? Then it's time to look at your sleep. Here's the inconvenient truth no one wants to hear. If you aren't sleeping well, there's only so much I can do. And that's regardless of what your diagnosis is. We go down internet rabbit holes looking for the diet, the supplement, or the exercise program that will fix us. And yes, there is interesting data about diet and our microbiome and about how we move our bodies and some anti-inflammatory supplements. But as someone who has been working in rheumatology and has seen thousands of autoimmune and inflammatory patients over the years, nothing will impact your health and your quality of life like getting your sleep back on track. I hope I've made the argument that it deserves attention. Please like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think needs some help with sleep or with pain. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.